I could hear the cheers echoing across the stadium. Balloons floated overhead, families were waving signs, crying, hugging their kids in caps and gowns, and me? I just stood there, frozen, scanning the crowd for two faces I'd been dreaming about seeing since freshman year. My mom's, my dad's, but the seats I reserved for them were empty. I refreshed my phone again. Nothing. Then, just as I zipped up my robe to head toward the stage, the message came in. One line, one shrug of a sentence. We're just gonna stay home and throw something on the grill. You understand? Right? That was the moment it hit me. This wasn't just them missing a milestone. They weren't stuck in traffic. They weren't sick. They made a choice. They didn't skip my graduation. They erased it. So I left them a gift they'd never forget. And to this day, I know they still think about it. Before I share the one gift that made them regret everything, please hit that subscribe button and drop your city in the comments. Let's see where you're watching from. I'm Kayla. I was 22 when this happened, born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. I was the first in my family to graduate from college. That alone should have been a big deal. But in my house, silence carried more weight than celebration. My parents weren't abusive. They weren't cruel, just distracted, detached, always wrapped up in something else, work, social obligations, petty drama that had nothing to do with me. I spent most of my childhood chasing crumbs of attention, trying to earn the kind of pride I saw other kids get just for showing up. So I became an overachiever, not because I was naturally brilliant, but because I needed something, a reason for them to look up from their phones. I worked 2 part-time jobs all through school. I took out loans, skipped spring breaks, turned down birthday invites just to focus, just to finish. By senior year, I had made the dean's list 3 times and was set to graduate early with honors. The one thing I held on to through it all was this promise. They'd be there. My mom said it once, half watching a cooking show, when it really matters, we'll show up. And I clung to that line like a lifeline because this mattered. This was supposed to be our moment, but the closer graduation got, the quieter they became. No hotel bookings, no travel plans, no excited texts asking about cap colors or seat numbers, just vague, casual responses like, remind us when it is again? And that's when the first doubt crept in. Barely a whisper at the back of my mind. It mattered, just not to them. About a month before graduation, the RSVPs were due. The school asked us to confirm seating for guests, and I remember sending my parents the link in a group text. No response. A week passed, then 2. I followed up with, hey, did you see the RSVP email? My dad left me on read. My mom finally replied 4 days later with, so what weekend is it again? No punctuation, no exclamation marks, just a sentence that felt like a shrug. Meanwhile, my friends were posting photos with their moms holding signs that said, proud of my grad. Their parents were calling venues, booking hotel rooms, picking out outfits. My roommate's mom even shipped her a personalized stole embroidered with their family name, me. I got, remind us of the date. I tried not to overthink it. Maybe they were just busy. I kept telling myself they'd show up. They always said they would. We'll be there when it counts. But something didn't feel right. Not yet panic, just a crack. 1 week out, I asked if they'd booked their hotel yet. My mom said they canceled the one I reserved for them months ago. Flights are crazy right now, she said, like it was just another Tuesday errand. Then she added, don't worry, we'll celebrate after. Let's do a little cookout at home instead. Keep it simple. Simple. I offered to cover the gas. I told them they didn't have to stay long, that I'd save them front row seats, but every answer was softer than the last. We'll see. It's a long drive. Don't stress so much. Then I opened Instagram, and there they were, at a barbecue the weekend before, laughing, dancing, matching t-shirts, not a word about missing me. My roommate's entire extended family was flying in from Seattle. Her dad was bringing a GoPro. Her cousins were making posters. I had silence. The distance between us suddenly felt wider than geography. It felt like a choice. Graduation day came, and I still held onto a sliver of hope. I kept glancing at the entry gate, expecting to see them rushing in, slightly late but still smiling, maybe holding a flower bouquet from CVS. But those seats stayed empty, and people all around me were hugging, crying, posing for photos with their families. Dads were wiping away tears, moms were fixing tassels, and I was just there, alone in my robe, holding my program like it could shield me. Then my phone buzzed, and it was a photo, a plate of ribs, captioned BBQ vibes fire emoji, followed by a message from my mom. Hope you understand, sweetie. We'll do something special another time. So proud of you. I remember blinking at the screen like maybe I misread it, like maybe the message was meant for someone else, but it wasn't. It was for me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat down on a bench near the stadium parking lot, my cap still on, gown bunched around me, mascara slowly flaking onto my cheeks. I ate a granola bar from the vending machine, next to a trash can, and that's when it clicked. They didn't just miss my moment, they made sure I knew I wasn't worth theirs. That night, there were no calls, no flowers, not even a chio. Did it go well? I packed my bags, folded my gown, and stared at the framed quote I'd planned to gift them. Behind every graduate is a family who believed in them. I nearly laughed. I opened my laptop and started writing. It wasn't a rant. It wasn't an essay. It was a receipt. Cold, clear, undeniable. A letter they wouldn't be able to unread. I included every detail they'd skipped, every moment they shrugged off. Then I printed a photo my roommate had taken of me walking the stage alone, zoomed out just enough to show the 2 empty seats circled in red. No captions, no insults, just evidence. I didn't know exactly when I'd give it to them, but I knew I would, and I knew it wouldn't be in celebration, it would be in silence. 3 weeks later was Father's Day. That date used to mean something to me. When I was little, I'd save up my allowance to buy my dad gas station cologne or a one dad mug from Walmart. I thought maybe if I gave enough, one day he'd show up the way I needed him to. But this year, I had something different in mind. I didn't text, I didn't call, I didn't send a card. Instead, I printed a photo. It was the one my roommate took during the ceremony. I'm mid-step walking across the stage. You can't see my face clearly, but you can see the story. There I am in my cap and gown, clutching my degree like it was proof that I made it. And behind me, 2 empty chairs circled in red. I found a cheap black frame at Target, nothing fancy. I didn't want it to feel sentimental. I wanted it to feel clinical, like evidence in a case file. I wrote a short note, not a letter really, more like a caption. Since you couldn't make it, I thought I'd bring it to you, frame it, hang it next to my baby pictures. It's the last one you'll get from me. That was it. No yelling, no guilt trips, just the facts. Have your parents or someone you loved ever skipped a milestone you worked hard for? Like this video if you've ever had to celebrate alone and felt like you had to clap for yourself. That Sunday, I drove home, not to stay, not to visit, just to deliver. I didn't even take off my sunglasses when I walked in. My parents were outside, setting up a grill and folding chairs like nothing happened, like they didn't miss the biggest moment of my life for ribs and lawn chairs. I walked straight into the kitchen, laid the framed photo flat on the table. The note was tucked neatly behind the glass. I didn't say a word. I didn't wait for them to notice. I just turned, walked out, and closed the door behind me. No slam, no drama, just silence. That was the last time I stood in that house. The next time they looked at me would be in that photo, and I made sure it would haunt them. I didn't hear from them that night or the day after, but by the 3rd day, the calls started. First, a missed call from mom, then 2 from dad, then a text, "We need to talk." I didn't reply, not because I was trying to be cruel, but because I didn't want to be pulled into another round of "you're too sensitive" or "you took it the wrong way." I wasn't in the mood to hear them turn my pain into an overreaction. This time, they'd have to sit with the silence they'd given me for years, so I blocked them. Phone, Facebook, Instagram, email. I didn't want apologies that were just reactions to embarrassment. I wanted them to feel it, the absence, the echo. I wanted them to realize they hadn't just skipped an event, they'd skipped a daughter. A week later, my cousin called. She wasn't whispering, but I could hear it in her tone. Everyone was talking: my mom's sisters, the deacons at their church, neighbors they used to brag to about me. Apparently, my mom tried to play it off at a Sunday potluck, telling people I'd gone distant lately and was just going through something. But someone, my aunt maybe, cut her off and asked bluntly, "Why weren't you at Kayla's graduation?" They didn't have an answer. Just a stammer, a sip of lemonade, an awkward smile. Then came the real blow. Someone in the family chat posted a photo of the letter I'd written. Another cousin had seen it lying on the kitchen table and snapped a picture before it disappeared. The photo of me walking the stage alone with those empty seats circled in red was shared, screenshotted, forwarded. I didn't even know half the people messaging me. But one message stood out. It was from my aunt in Atlanta. She texted, "They needed to read that, Kayla. I'm proud of you for saying what none of us ever could." I sat on my new mattress in my barely furnished apartment, holding that message like a medal. Not because I needed the validation, but because for the first time in my life, someone in my family saw me. Not as the quiet one, not as the kid who always swallowed her pride, but as a grown woman who finally said, "Enough." I didn't ghost them, I didn't burn bridges, and I just built a wall so high they couldn't climb back over it with charm and excuses. And as word spread, the tone shifted. No more, "She's being dramatic." Now it was, "She has boundaries. She's serious. She meant what she wrote." That power, the ability to walk away with my dignity intact, was worth more than any apology they could have texted. And maybe, just maybe, the photo I left behind did its job, because they didn't just lose a seat at my graduation, they lost a seat in my future. A few months later, I packed what little I had and moved to Chicago. It wasn't glamorous. My first apartment was a third-floor walk-up with thin walls and a heater that groaned like it had trauma of its own. But it was mine. And that first morning, I woke up to city noise instead of silence. I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Free. I had graduated with honors, landed a junior position at a boutique PR firm, and I was finally using my voice for something bigger than survival. I was building something real without having to beg anyone to see it. And slowly, I started creating my own circle, not a perfect one, but a chosen one. People who showed up without being begged to. Friends who celebrated small wins, brought wine on bad days, and sat in the front row at everything. People who clapped for me louder than my own blood ever did. The kind of people who don't need to be reminded when something matters. Looking back now, I realized this was never just about graduation. It was about presence. It was about choosing to be there for someone even when it's inconvenient. About listening, caring, showing up not for the camera or the credit, but because love demands witness. And my parents, they didn't lose me because they missed one day. They lost me because they made it clear over and over that I was never a priority, that their comfort mattered more than my milestones. So I left them with something permanent, not to punish, not to shame, but to remind, because sometimes the loudest gift you can give is silence. And now, I only keep people in my life who show up, even if it's just to say, "I'm proud of you." What would you have done in my place? Would you have written the letter or walked away in silence? Comment below, and if this story hit home for you, share it. Someone out there needs to hear it.